entrepreneurs tend to be associated with a lot of symptoms of psychological disorders. If you look at the symptoms of ADD, for example, they pretty much describe most entrepreneurs. If you look at the symptoms of OCD, of obsessive compulsive disorder, a lot of those describe a lot of entrepreneurs. So I'm not saying that entrepreneurs are crazy, but a lot of those symptoms tend to be associated with actual mental illness. And part of that is that entrepreneurs face a lot of temptations. There are a lot of things tempting founders and entrepreneurs that you really shouldn't be doing. So some of those are doing things yourself. It's very easy. It's so easy to fall into a trap of getting busy. And the truth is that as an entrepreneur, as an actual founder of some idea, your role should be to make that idea flourish as much as possible. Your role shouldn't be booking your own travel or designing your own website and learning HTML in order to do that. Now, obviously, there are situations where you really need a bootstrap and you really need to do that. But the truth is that nowadays you have so much access to so many resources for cheap or free that it's no longer an excuse. The worst thing I ever hear nowadays is when somebody tells me that they haven't gotten back to me for a month or so because they've been head down. The problem with that is that you're robbing yourself of an opportunity to see the forest and you're just focusing on the trees or the tree. And that's why a lot of ideas end up failing, in my opinion. You see entrepreneurs who think that their idea is so great and they're so invested in it, but somebody else is beating them to the punch and they're not seeing it. They're not taking advantage of it. And you should never get outscaled. There's no reason for that to happen. You shouldn't, being outnumbered in terms of dollars, that's a different problem. But being outscaled, there's so many tools and ways for us to do that now that that's not something that should be holding you back. So one of those temptations, when you see that there's something that needs to get done, the temptation is that you need to be the one to do it. So stop yourself and actually see, first of all, is that thing something that actually does have to get done? If so, does it have to get done now? And if it does have to get done now, maybe that there's somebody else who can do it better and more efficiently than you could possibly ever do it. The other temptation that I think that a lot of entrepreneurs face is chasing multiple ideas at the same time. A lot of entrepreneurs, you see people who are serial entrepreneurs, but they're running different businesses at the same time. And they have, 1,000 ideas that they want to take advantage of. It's that sort of shiny object syndrome. And being able to focus on something, even for a little while, is really important. A little while could be as little as 6 months, but sometimes you need to put your effort fully into one thing in order to see it through. Now, sometimes that's just because they're interested in other things. Sometimes it's because they don't necessarily have full faith in their ability to deliver on that one thing. They don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. But the problem is if you start to spread those eggs into different baskets before you're really ready to, you're actually putting them at risk of getting broken because they lack the integrity of having all your sort of ideas together and being safe. The next temptation that I think a lot of entrepreneurs face is going into business with friends. It's almost never a good idea. The only way that this kind of works is if you have very, very clear delineation of roles and the things that you're doing. And sometimes businesses don't make it that that's possible. There's certain businesses where you'll have 4 people who kind of all do the same thing. And that's usually a recipe for disaster. So that's another temptation. The next temptation that I think a lot of people face as well is trying to raise money for an idea before they've actually proven the product and have a minimal viable product or even an idea of what product market fit looks like. It's really easy. Again, I keep saying it's really easy because it is. It's lazy to do things the hard way. It's a lot different if you stop and try to think of a smarter way of getting it done. So it's really easy to say like, yes, let's just raise a bunch of money for this really cool idea and then we'll figure it out later. There's no reason that we have to do that anymore. You can figure it out now and decide if it's actually worth pursuing. The money should only come when you're ready to actually scale and if you even need it at that point. So those are some of the temptations that face entrepreneurs. When you're in that situation, you need to recognize that those things are tempting and you have to ideally have some sort of sounding board to decide if those are things that you really want to pursue and put your resources into. Hey, thanks so much for watching my video. If you liked it and you want to see more, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this video with anybody you think would benefit from a little more optimization, automation, and outsourcing in their life. Thanks a lot.